Hello everybody and welcome to Overnight Northern XR. This time we will be talking about Estonia. So the name of today's event is Eyes on Estonia. First, few words about Overnight for those who have not perhaps yet been part of these meetings or this meeting series actually. Just to note that overnights happen all over the globe. We have them from San Francisco to Istanbul, all over. One is in Helsinki, which is this one, which we try to cover the entire Nordics and Baltics area. So for those who doesn't know where Estonia is, it's right here, just below Helsinki. There's a bit of sea between us, not that much. And today we are talking about the Estonian ecosystem. A few words about the platform that we are using today. This is something new for us as well. We have not yet used Orb.live platform before, and this is the first Northern XR overnight that is using that. This is an awesome platform. You definitely want to be joining on the platform. There's a lot of events and things to learn from, connect and grow your own businesses. So definitely worth checking out all the other functions and features of the platform other than our event. And also Orb is organizing this year again the actual physical events regarding XR in the US from June 1st to June 3rd in Santa Clara. Let's see if I will be able to travel there. I will try. Let's see how all the things go with COVID and whatnot. Then there's in Asia in August and in the EU in October in Lisbon. Also, just like I mentioned, there are a lot of other content here as well than just our overnight. There's Overnight Florence upcoming. Then there's a XR podcast with Charlie Flink and Ted Shrikovic. I don't know, I probably didn't pronounce that right. And the AR show, of course, and Overnight Istanbul, for example. So there's plenty of things to watch if the scene is interesting. And now that they are all gathered under the single umbrella, it's easy to browse through the content. Then, of course, like I said, there's also something to learn from. There's the Orb Academy, which has plenty of different courses and classes or workshops that you can join and see if you can actually learn something new. So definitely worth looking at least if there would be some value for you. Today, like I said, we will be focusing on Estonia, and to kick things off, we will start with spatial news. After that, we will have an overview of the Estonian XR ecosystem, and then a couple of use cases from Maru VR and Alpha AR, and then a awesome panel discussion regarding who should educate the Metaverse builders and why. And tonight's sponsors are Spatial as per usual, and also EEVR, Estonian Virtual and Augmented Reality Association. But now we will start with the spatial news. I will stop the presentation and share the video. So I hope everything works. I hope if something is wrong with the sound or anything, someone will kick me and say, do start it again, and I will. But here you go. Spatial news is here. Hello and welcome to Spatial News. This time we are part of Overnight Northern Lights, which is happening in Estonia, or not happening in Estonia per se, but we are dealing with Estonian ecosystem and what's happening there in the overnight, and hence the spatial news has also some information on Estonian augmented reality and virtual reality scene. So welcome to the spatial news. So eyes on Estonia. We have a cooperation with the Estonian Virtual and Augmented Reality Association, and they are about to publish an interesting study on what's happening in the Estonian scene. So here are a few highlights about that. Two of the biggest Estonian XR success stories in 21 has been the Metaverse avatars platform, Ready Player Me, and the VR game Into the Radius by CM Games. So those were the two of the biggest things coming from Estonia in 21 regarding extended reality scene. Then on with the employment part, Estonian XR companies are planning to hire around 100 new employees in 2020, which is quite a trend in the world. So people are hiring in this scene quite a lot. Then what's the value of Estonian XR scene? So it is an estimate that the value was in 21, 3.2 million euros, which has a impressive growth rate of 60% from 2020. Then just to note that 95% of all Estonian XR products and services are exported. So only 5% are used within Estonia, which is quite interesting statistic. I would like to see that statistics in other countries as well, because that sounds quite interesting. So that was something about Estonia. Now I think we need to jump with the Kalles regarding some immersive experiences. I think the first one is about Estonia as well. This time there's an AI-driven 3D modeling platform called Alpha Air that has raised something under €1 million in the funding round. So please, Kalle, take it away. Let's see what's going on there.
Yes, hello. Here you see a standard shoe. It is a shoe. Nike shoe. Yes. And can you see? It is a scanning. Yes. Scanning. Yes. It is scanning the shoe. And scanning the shoe makes a virtual shoe. Yes. Virtual shoe comes from scanning. Yes. Scanning is going on. It becomes a scanned shoe. Yes. Can you see? Let's. Yes. Skip. Processing. Yes. I skipped the video. Yes. Now it is processing, and now it is a 3D shoe. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalle. That was quite nice, so to say. I would like to model myself with that and see what happens with with that sort of 3D modeling software. Okay, then I think Palle has something about a VR shooter game or something like that. Please, Palle, do tell me more.
Hey son, Herre Palle. I am here in virtual reality where there's a new version of the game, Estonian game called Into the Radius. I don't have my reading glasses on, so I have to, yes. And it has been titled as the most immersive VR game. So as you can see from the footage, it looks very good, at least for me. Scary game. It has a lot of features. It has been also said that it's hard to make out what's the storyline there, but I guess someone smarter than me can figure it out. But it looks very immersive. I'm not sure if I would want to be playing that though. So, but update from the Estonian market there. So go ahead. Back to you, Teemu.
Thank you, Palle. That was, how would I say, rather interesting take on a shooter, a scary one for me. Okay, now we shall end up with the short topics. First, we have Anarchy Labs, which we have talked about before also, but they have this drone capabilities with where you can fly drones using HoloLenses. And now they have updated their night flight capabilities. Here in the video, you can see them, or I think it's on that side.
on the video you can see playing footage of their new interface with, I think, HoloLens 2. So that looks quite amazing. Actually, I don't have a drone, but I would like to have. So I think if I get one, I want to fly it with that. So that's an interesting way of flying drones for me. Then Punu Games has released a Punu game, I think, in Steam. Arrival of the Punu is a story about Punu from outer space. They are explorers who make a crash landing on a planet called Earth. In the mission to fix their broken ship, they get an ally of a little child whose imagination will open up a whole new perspective on our home planet. That was, I read it from the paper, if you didn't know. But an interesting game or thing from, I don't know if there's any augmented reality about that, but news anyway, I guess. Should be augmented reality. I think I need to go back to the one who's writing these news that this may not have that, but well, it's there. Anyway, then last but not least, glitchy virtual grasp hand interaction is the thing here. Now, in the video you can see playing is a engine that automatically creates natural and realistic hand interactions. I needed to look there how it was said there, but it is kind of the product of 8 years of robotic research and publishes across 30 papers and whatnot. So an interesting plugin to use when you are creating virtual reality games or education stuff or whatever you are doing. I think you should definitely look it up. I think that's an interesting plugin to use when you are using hand interactions in virtual reality. So please check it out. That's interesting. And that's all we have time for today. I've been using this mouse the whole time, looking at what's written for me. And I don't know if that's relevant or not, but anyway, thank you and have a good overnight. Or if you are watching this from the recording, have a good whatever you are doing. Thank you. Toodaloo.
Okay, so that was weird. Let's go back to the actual topic at hand. I hope I didn't offend anyone or didn't tell something that wasn't correct. So that was the spatial news part, and now I think it would be a good idea to let someone else talk here. It has been too much already about me, so I think I'll hand it over to Märt now, and you can take over the sharing as well. So please, Märt Lume, introduce yourself and take over. Thank you.
Yes, happily. Thank you, Teemu. That was fun and informative. My name is Märt. I'm the head of EVR, Estonian VR and Augmented Reality Association. We've been operating for 5-6 years and under a more professional kind of mission for the last year and a half. And yeah, today we'll be basically doing two quick presentations. First, me about the ecosystem in general, and then followed by Rein Zobel, who's the creative director of Maru VR, talking about their latest cool project. And then we can talk about an issue which is very close to my heart, and hopefully also of the panelists and listeners, about the education of the XR or the Metaverse builders, let's say, and how that all should kind of shake into place in the coming years and how we see it now. So if that's cool with everybody, I'll go run through a few slides here of EVR. So we're currently made of 20 institutions, so it's companies and also 4 schools. We'll probably get to 25 shortly here, because we're also recruiting a few new members. Our mission is to basically keep pace with the phenomenally successful Estonian startup sector which is not really, you can just call it tech sector now, because we have too many unicorns already. It's kind of weird to call them startups. But basically, the growth that you see is still quite exponential, about 30% a year. Then it's expected to make up around 30% of the economy in 2030. Just the tech sector alone, growing 10x in 10 years, very approximately speaking. So we hope and think that the XR sector, if you can call it that, can grow at the same pace. And certainly with the occasional kind of big leaps that we have basically coming from the technology becoming available on platforms to create new products in this space, I think would get us there. And so there was an industry report that is still getting its final touches, but was completed just recently. Some of the highlights slightly differing from Teemu's numbers given, but sector revenue is almost 3.7 million. Yeah, it's still up 60% or so from last year's. We have let's say around 120 people, and quite many were hired in 2021, like more than 50, and expecting 80 more, so getting to about 200 by the end of this year. And the types of organizations, we have lots of product companies. So you have to get to the actual report to get the breakdown and the actual list of all of them. And you can see that the top right ones list the biggest one. As mentioned before, our two bigger success stories, CM Games and Wolf3D. They are producers of Estonia's most successful game and avatar platform accordingly. Alpha AR was also in the news. They're doing the digital twin kind of machine learning platform. Mobilab is doing mobile AR apps, and Photoclass, that I'm also part of, is trying to break through in the VR education market. And you can see that current companies identify themselves as gaming companies, more than half actually. But there's also a fairly big sector of companies doing other things, whether it's more serious experiences or different corporate projects, with education, real estate, and for museums and so on. And number 3 here in the revenue category is actually one guy, Root Motion. He's making a very popular Unity animation tool. And a few screenshots. And we have a jobs page recently, also a website in general, which has a lot more information, evr.ee. And this is usually what I just fly through when I like to inspire people. So I know you're all very aware of what this industry will become, but just as a quick inspiration, if you can indulge for about a minute, there's all these areas that I feel can really use great upgrades in the coming decade. And you can see all these fields of education and all kinds of e-commerce, sales, architecture, training of any kind, fitness, like all these areas are ripe. Then it's this whole kind of personal wellness, different kinds of experiences, games, of course, remote work, meetings. Like there are so many different areas that if you're basically a young person and interested in having a career in XR, then you could take any of these and imagine how it will completely be changed when the XR glasses become available, or rather as different versions of them become available that enable to do more and more. And you can follow Estonian XR on different channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and also YouTube. And that is my short summary. I hope it's somewhat informative. And I think I'll now give the floor to Rein to talk about what Maru VR has been up to recently.
Hello. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Thank you, Märt. So I will start sharing my screen. And I will tell you a little bit about an example project to let you know what we are working on here in Estonia. Specifically, this one experience called Mondo Music Table, which we made last year, and it uses hand tracking, and it has some opportunities to learn from, I'm hoping. So I'm Rein Zobel. I'm a creative director and co-founder at Maru VR Productions. And Maru VR Productions is probably the longest running only VR content providing company in Estonia. And in 5 years, we have made more than 35 VR projects for marketing or training apps, etc. And right now we are also working on our first survival VR game, a first game which is for larger audience, and it's called Bootstrap Island. But last year we did a lot of interesting projects, some for a rescue board, how to train kids, how to spot when somebody is drowning at the beach and things like this. So it's very good to say that very interesting projects are being done and commissioned by Estonian companies or the government offices. So I have very little time to tell you about this project, so it's definitely not a deep dive, but just an example. So this project was commissioned by a non-government organization called Mondo. And it's an international organization which helps migrate people who migrate to different countries. They organize people to go to Africa and volunteer there, and they do a lot of very useful and very interesting stuff. And this specific project had the goal of educating people, especially younger people, about the importance of migration, and especially through the lens of music, because different genres have only appeared and been made possible because at some points people have migrated to different countries. For example, the Great Migration in America before the Second World War, where a lot of people went from southern states to the north. This actually led to the invention of many genres like blues or country, and the migration from Jamaica in the 60s after a big hurricane destroyed a lot of the Jamaica's economy, and Jamaicans migrated to US and UK, and their own versions of Western pop music became reggae, which led to hip hop and trap music, and all these other genres have only happened because musical people travel to other places and bring their culture with them, and culture kind of melts. So to demonstrate that, we made this VR experience using hand tracking. So hopefully you can a little bit hear from my microphone what it sounds like, because that's obviously an important part of a musical game. So the gameplay is inspired by music tables, which are these real physical tools that you have maybe seen at some party, where DJs actually take these little cubes or these physical things and put them on a table, and then they can combine samples using this. And this is exactly what you are doing inside this game. And you take these little blocks and you grab them with your magnetic hands and put them on the table, and the sample of this particular one will start playing. And you can take music from Jamaica, you can take music from Chicago, you can take music from Syria, and combine them and discover new genres. And when you do that, you unlock new musical cubes with more modern samples like hip hop or synthwave. And eventually you also discover some local instruments like a Jewish harp or a Finnish kantele. By the way, this folk instruments work really well together with the synthwave bass sound. It's synthwave bass sound. It's kind of everybody's favorite in this game, to mix synthwave and maybe some trap beats and maybe like a Finnish kantala sound. So to share our experience working with hand tracking. Hand tracking is now built into Oculus Quest 2 or Meta Quest, and it uses the cameras of the Quest 2 headset to detect users' hands and interpret those. It's definitely not perfect because the cameras are not originally meant for that. It feels sometimes a little bit more like a hack, but it still works quite well. Our main lesson in working with this experience would be that only use hand tracking for some very specific tasks. For example, we discovered that it's able to detect a pinching motion very well. So this game is mainly built around pinching. So when a line appears between your hand and the musical cube, then you do this little pinch, and then this cube comes next to your hand like your hands are magnets. Hand tracking is not very good for actually grabbing physical objects. It tends to lose detection when you try to do that. And once we got this to work, then things started to kind of make sense and fall together. It's not available online anywhere. So this is Mondo is using this mainly locally in schools and in some specific events. But our experience with demonstrating it has been very, very positive, because people who are not experienced with VR find it very easy to get into, because usually they would have to learn a controller. A lot of people who have used VR very little are not very familiar with video game controllers. So using their own hands, once they get the pinching motion and understand how that works, it's very natural and very easy to pick up for people. And one thing that definitely works in this experience's favor is also the fact that music and VR seem to be working very well together, as we all know from the success of Beat Saber and other musical experiences. But it seems like this state of mind that you go into when you listen to music or where you are in VR, that they match up pretty well, and people get really into it really fast. Also, an added bonus to hand tracking is that you can actually express yourself with your hands, do a little, not exactly dance, but still do some funny hand motions and kind of feel the beat and express yourself in that way. So that's definitely something that hand tracking is also very good for. So yes, in summary, I would say that this experience was an absolute success. It had a good, decent bite-sized scale. It's not too long for people, and it's something that people can easily experience at events or this kind of location-based entertainment conditions. And that would be it for me. Hopefully that was somewhat educational and helps people to understand what VR can enable them to do. We are very much hoping to see further developments of hand tracking in the future. Recently, well, 2 weeks ago, we went to the GDC at San Francisco, and there was this one VR game which was built around finger guns. I think it's actually called finger guns. So the idea was that it's a shooting game, and you actually use your fingers to shoot things, doing these motions with your thumb, and it worked surprisingly well. So I'm hoping there's definitely a niche of using hand tracking, and it's kind of magical because hand tracking was this kind of technology that everybody has been talking about for a long time, and then it's just now here and available, and we can use it to do cool stuff. So yeah, that's usually how things in VR work. So thank you very much. My name is Rein, and over to the next presenter.
I think that was actually very interesting. Kind of related to that was actually what was in the Spatial news was the hand tracking by Cleach. Was it like virtual grasp? So if you guys are further developing that, I would definitely suggest to look that up. Hence, that kind of would make the hand interaction feel much more natural. So it's a plugin for I think at least Unity, and I don't know if it's already in the others as well. But yeah, just free advice. But yeah, thank you, Rein. That was very interesting presentation, and I actually really enjoyed the simpleness of it. That always works when it's simple and engaging. I could totally see my 10-year-old going about that and having a few minutes of fun. Okay, excellent. Then we had the next presentation regarding Alpha AR by Madis, but Madis is not available to join. Was it so, Märt, that you had his presentation, or shall we
it's actually not quite sure. We should skip it. I think the man himself should speak about his company. So when he's well, I look forward to him appearing somewhere.
Okay.
See me
Cool,
have something to say. But also, I'd second about the hand tracking that I actually think for like older people, it's more of a problem, or people who are basically not gamers, because a lot of people just grab the Oculus or Pico like controllers and just mash all the buttons and accept things to happen. But really, they should just use hand tracking, and it'd be a lot more intuitive for them. So yeah, for all the non-gamers, also very much looking forward to it evolving.
Yeah, and especially with hand tracking, what sort of user interface shall we have in the world when kind of everything will be looked through smart glasses, and what sort of interactions you can do with what sort of is the actual user interface? That's something I'm looking for. Who makes the best innovation? Because so far, for example, with HoloLens, it's okay-ish. It's not like, wow, this is the one that works. So there's a lot of evolution around that coming, I think, and interesting topics. But hey, we have next coming up the panel discussion, and I think we have now a good time reserved for that. So we have 27 minutes reserved for the panel discussion, which will be around the Metaverse builders, who should educate them and why, and Märt shall take over as the moderator, and I will shut up and let the experts speak. So take over, Märt.
Great. Oh, hello, everybody. So I'll really read up everyone's introductions really quickly so we can get right to business, and you guys can just fill in if I miss something. So Raimond is from Tartu University, one of the educators side on this panel, Junior Research Fellow of Computer Graphics Education. Vladimir is from two places now, Research of Confirmed Smart Manufacturing Center in Ireland and Head of Industrial Virtual and Augmented Reality Lab at Taltech in Estonia. So Rein, we just heard of, he's a co-founder, creative director at Maru VR Productions, and Vlad Funtikov, of course, is the CEO of Creative Mobile, probably the biggest company here. And I'd actually like to start with him, that how do you think about talent training in your company over time? Like, and do you see a need to balance junior versus mid versus senior developers? That's kind of the logic that, you know, if you have a lot of things to do, then there are some things that are more boring that you would want to delegate to juniors, and they could also be grown at the same time. Like, how do you think long-term about the flow of people through your company?
Well, thank you, Mark. You basically answered my question for me, because that's pretty close to how we approach it. We like to have senior guys on our team. We like to have world-class, almost one-of-a-kind type of people, obviously, because they bring lots of value. They can minimize the cost of some expensive mistakes. But ultimately, the way we look at it is based on tasks. We have specific tasks, we have specific requirements emanating from the products or project teams. And then based on that, we have specific positions that we need to fill. So for example, if we're looking to raise the bar for graphics or performance in the game, then we probably want to have one of the best guys in the business doing this, because the margin for error is really tiny and the impact can be really scalable. But at the same time, say we have a level designer who needs help populating locations with props and maybe doing some secondary gameplay systems, then that's an amazing job for a junior guy, because he's going to learn rapidly. He's going to be really impactful. A senior guy probably wouldn't be learning doing this for the 20th time. He probably wouldn't be really impactful if you look at his full potential and the impact he can make here. Also, last but not least, we find that junior guys really bring hunger and energy that kind of propagates across the team. So that's also really useful. I'm not saying that every senior guy is not motivated, right? Because we're so experienced. I mean, look at me. I don't look like I'm not motivated for doing this. It's just that there's something about youth and fresh perspectives on things. So typically we end up with a mix, but that's not because we designed the system to be, X juniors, X seniors. It's just that the requirements of products kind of dictate this for us.
That's in a way, I don't know if all products in all phases of companies are kind of this lucky, if you will. I feel like some companies just want to get the most senior guys all the time, especially when they're young. But yeah, that's very nice to hear. So this means, follow-up question, which now gets us to the education part, I hope, is what are the best entry points or skill sets, in your opinion, for juniors to enter the industry? And we're talking about whether XR industry or game industry here, and how to get those skills. And do those juniors really come from schools, or do you get them from hackathons, or just any other way? To Vlad as well, and then we go to school part.
There is no pattern, honestly. We've had some amazing success stories with guys joining as interns from schools. One of my guys joined us 4 years ago. I think he was 18 at the time, if I'm not mistaken, 18 or 19, as an intern. And then he was interviewed after, I think, a year or so to join the core team. And he's a senior artist now. And by senior, I mean, it's a pretty high standard. So it's not relatively senior. It's a pretty important position, because he had the hunger, had the skill set, had the talent. Obviously, that's one of the best career paths one wish for, coming through the, let's say, academic environment and then getting this internship and then progressing to full employment and then senior positions. But this is not the most common case. We have guys coming in with just private projects, open source projects that has a lot of weight on the resume. We like people with proven track record of actually building stuff, actually collaborating with other people, because ultimately, and this is something some students and junior specialists often miss or kind of don't understand intuitively, is that we do not hire people because they possess certain skills, right? We don't hire people because they can't code or can't design. It's the ability to deploy these skills within a specific context that really matters to us. Like, yes, you can write great code, but how is your communication like? Can you talk to other people? Can you write great documentation? Can you read this documentation? What is your business sense like? Do you understand why you're here? Do you understand that you're building something for the end user? How is your planning like? So it's a mix of hard and soft skills, and people who are working on private projects or even hackathons, like especially extended hackathons, don't just the quick ones, but the ones where you actually have to kind of persevere, push through, grind through, make compromise. They typically demonstrate that they have this T-shaped kind of competency, which we would like.
Thank you. Now let's skip over to Raimond, who I know is basically working on figuring out the curriculum on teaching VR game development, if I'm correct. Maybe
Yes.
Raimond, you'd like to explain a bit what you are, how that's going, and what is most important to you when you're trying to figure that out.
Yes, so that's absolutely true. So right now we are planning and designing a curriculum, a bachelor level 3-year curriculum that would, well, we currently are calling it like a video game developer designer. So our vision at the moment is to have one curriculum for both of these professions, and they can specialize in either development or the design part of video games. And of course, virtual reality and extended reality is a part of it as well. So you introduced me as this research fellow of computer graphics education. So yes, that's my official title, but I'm also the head of the computer graphics and virtual reality lab here in the University of Tartu. And the goal here is of this lab is to provide students who like to develop interactive real-time software, video games, a place to also work on VR, also work on computer graphics algorithms if they are so inclined. But when it comes to the curriculum, then our current process is serving the companies here in Estonia. And again, we have this a bit broader spectrum than just VR or AR. We are also serving game development companies and computer graphics companies, in addition to VR and AR companies. And we are basically mapping out what are the skill sets that are actually needed in these workplaces. And that will be the basis of the design of the curriculum. There are a couple of interesting things there. Like instead of a graduation thesis, we would like to have a graduation project in our team. We would like to emphasize on portfolios. We would like to emphasize on game jams throughout the 3-year study for the design and development sites to collaborate in. And there are other these kind of interesting design choices that we are currently considering and putting together.
Yeah, we should maybe talk as well. I once went to game design school in Canada. It was long ago, but we ended up in a 6-month project in the end with 20 people. So that was a good time. That's a good way, I think. Cool. I was wanting now to get to Vladimir, because maybe you can kind of give us the non-gamer perspective on education. I guess you can call it in the XR field. Do you see any skills that are super different when you're raising like an engineer that is, not doing a shooting game, but some robotics related application or medical, or do you find like big difference there?
Okay, yeah. So our main aspect of our laboratory, we are doing mainly research, that's true, and we are from a background is most of our team. We have 9 people approximately right now are mechanical engineers from the background or architects. We don't have any of pure computer science people, to be honest. Some of them pursued masters, for example. Even myself are doing right now masters in XR in Ireland here remotely. But if you speak about skill set, all of our team are, let's tell, gamers as well. All have passion on games, and the aspects of development are not much different. However, they are different from point of view that we mainly work with the physical hardware. So our main work research aspect is robotics. So we work a lot on the operation of robotics. So we work on human-robot interaction concepts, which means still we need to work on user experience design. We need to work on quality of experience. We need to design like how it will be better for user perspective, how user will enjoy this immersive feeling more than he or she is controlling the physical robot with the manual. So basically, I mean, we still use the same concepts. We still, for example, we speak of XR, motion sickness, a problem in game or industrial application, doesn't matter. So we are working on that aspect. We work on how better in interaction make gestures, how interact as much as possible with different objects. But yes, our main aspect is to work with the physical hardware still. But we did some games a bit as well, and we do a lot of different applications, not only industrial, but main aspect is this.
And are you in touch of some of the people that teach? Are they also working in companies that could hire some of the students? Or I'm just trying to also get to this industry school kind of connection? Because in some ideal world, you know, you have a teacher that works in a cool company and kind of like scouts, you know, the feeding students throughout his career. Is that connection something you see happening?
So as we as research laboratory, first of all, we and mechanical industrial engineering curriculum, we don't have directly education inside our curriculum of mechanical engineers. I head of production digitalization course, and I somehow integrated their Unity courses for free lectures, where we give insight to students what they can do with this engine. And students who like this concept, who are enjoying this lectures, are coming back to our laboratory, and we give them some small projects on industrial case still. So we are not educating directly this concept, but we are always welcome for students, and we encourage and disseminate it inside the curriculums itself. And as a from perspective of students, I try to students who come to me, I try to find them projects, and I try to encourage them to stay in academia mainly with me in our lab. And this is how this lab was raised. And however, people leave, of course, and we have some people working in game industry as well in Estonia who came out from our lab and quite successfully. But I aim to hire these people to myself, to be honest, because
there you go. So you're the prime example of this, then, hiring from your flock. Rein, you have been, I know, teaching for 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
And not necessarily directly like game development, but like, can you please say if you've also been poaching somebody, or how do you see this? Why do you teach?
Why do you teach?
That's a good. And you're also running your own studio for a long time, as you said. So, is there a connection there?
I wish. So I have been teaching virtual reality as a guest lecturer in the University of Tallinn, and the students there are mainly more with a cross-media background. So they have to be aware of a lot of different mediums. And I guess initially I was hoping to grab some talent from there, but I think their profile is a little different, which is interesting because right now in this company, with our company, we are at this phase where we are in this place where we are transforming to a bigger company, and where before a lot of our projects were done by freelancers and some very good freelancer developers who knew VR very well. But now when we have projects where we have 10 people working on a project, it suddenly requires a completely different skill set. And I think that we have actually discovered that we don't so much need like a specialist who does this one thing very well, but rather somebody who is a good problem solver or who has a good technical background, so that they are able to grow into roles as they come, and even learn new software platforms and things that they don't have any experience with.
That is really interesting. So if you had a magic wand, that's my question, which I think maybe everybody can answer, like what or who wish, what would you like to be different in how Estonian schools and VR AR companies cooperate? Like if you could change something, anyone can take this.
A huge number of very well prepared VR experts and VR developers would be very welcome.
And what can you maybe describe a bit more what skill sets you're looking for are? Like you said, good problem solver and technical background and so on, but like, should they be able to do some basic stuff in Unreal 5?
Yeah, we mainly work in game engines, Unity and Unreal. Recently we switched to mainly Unreal. And while it would be perfect if we had a large pool of Unreal developers to hire from, as our needs arise, This is not the case at all. In fact, I think there are very few Unreal developers in Estonia, and we are considering to hire people who have no skills in Unreal Engine and teach them that. So yeah, if there was a magic wand, I would definitely change that.
Nice. Anyone else? Vlad, Vladimir, Raimond?
I can second what was just said by Rein about the absence of developers. And I think, at least from my perspective, it's not just about Unreal Engine being difficult to learn. It's not. I mean, it's super user-friendly. There's an abundance of materials online. It's not very expensive. We're actually running free courses within the company right now for non-technical employees or those who are trained in Unity. For example, I'm doing the same course, 15 hours digital programming with blueprints in Unreal Engine and materials and lighting and basically everything. So it's not like senior level expertise, but it's a good start, and you can actually build stuff after you do this. Could be done on your own as well. So to me, it's not just the absence of opportunity, but just general lack of driven people with this kind of hunger directed towards our industry or industries that would later kind of steer them towards high competency that we seek.
Amen. I lived half of my life abroad, so also that's been my feeling a lot. But I'm sure there are somewhere, just need to find them. Anything, Vlad, Raimond? What about the educational part? So now we had the company, what's coming from the company side?
Yes, so I would hope that this magic wand that both of you Rein and Vlad are looking for will be us. But this is exactly the problem we are trying to solve, that where would these Unreal Engine developers come from, and is it just Unreal Engine? How many Unity developers do companies need? Do they need skills in both? So some a short like sneak preview of the results we have gathered so far is that several companies need people who are skilled in both of these engines, not just one. And it is explicit that it doesn't, some alternative engine isn't gonna work. So all of these questions, first we need to find these answers for, and then we can make a curriculum that actually serves this very purpose of producing these skilled people and giving them a future in an industry that's really amazing. I don't know about this lack of hunger. Like, where does this come from? Is it because there's no formal way for people to get into this industry, and only people who are very individually motivated can push through and learn these tools and follow this, or is there some other reason? I really don't know. I think for me, like, the biggest aspiration would be that this process of mapping these needs of the industry out and building a curriculum that actually serves these needs would already be done. So it's a very long process. The application of a new curriculum alone will take 1.5 to 2 years. So my wish with the wand would be that we would be already 3-4 years into the future, or maybe even 6 years, and you would already get these people out of the curriculum.
Cool. Yeah, I just also wanted to note that there are, like, many tools you can learn, but in the way the underlying process of how to be like a good engineer, or which is even more basic, like, or if you learn art, you basically should know how to look at things, and it's a whole bunch of things before you get to your Mayas and I don't even know what kids use nowadays, ZBrushes and Houdinis and whatever, whatever was there 10 years ago, is what I know. Great. What about people from abroad then? It seems like the next natural kind of way of thinking, right? That if you don't have enough people here, then either we should get foreign students who are maybe more hungry to come learn in Estonian universities, or they could just come to work straight away, or we could have like a remote people. And I know in gaming it's a little not so good because there's a lot of interaction and innovation and iteration. But yeah, what do you guys think about foreign either students or employees I don't know, Vlad has a probably very funny, not funny, but probably interesting times with the abroad office. But maybe you'd like to start. Where do you see this ideally, at least?
Yeah, I've been smiling because I'm in the office right now, and here in Tallinn we have 1,500 square meters, and I think today we have 15 people attendance. That's 100 square meters per person, which is 10 times the official requirement by the labor authority, I think. It's 10 officially. So it's very spacious at least, but that's mainly because we've been remote for a while, not just because of the Corona-induced changes in our culture, but even before that, we've been hiring everywhere. Mostly, I mean, obviously, the main reason is that we just couldn't find nearly enough talent locally. We couldn't relocate nearly enough talent, no matter how we tried. And also, a secondary factor is that the tools, like the communication tools, the collaboration tools, have gotten much better. So now we are finding it much easier to collaborate on visual, say, mock-ups and like project documentation in tools like Miro or Figma, and it's really easy to press, I think, Control, Shift H and Slack and initiate voice talk immediately without having to set up a meeting. And we've been taking advantage of all these tools to kind of shorten the distance between people. Obviously, it doesn't fully supersede and substitute in-person interaction. We found that in 95% of cases, for most professional needs, you can get away with a suite of appropriate communication tools and practices and cultural agreements. And then the remaining 5% is basically reading body language and reading between the lines, and it's very subtle, almost political things about how people communicate. I don't know how many people are remote, honestly, and how many are local. I don't know, and I don't care. We've kind of become location agnostic a while ago. I can only say with certainty that this is workable.
Mm-hmm. Rein, maybe you have a smaller studio. Would you like to see 2 people in Saaremaa or something, or yeah. I don't know, in Finland?
Even with a small number of employees, we very rarely seem to be able to meet in the same room. We have 2 employees in Tartu and some in Tallinn. So if some people are in another city anyways, then it doesn't make that much sense to come to the office in Tallinn. So yeah, remote work, I think, is something that we have to kind of deal with, but it would be very nice to have people meeting every once in a while.
And just before I get to the education side, so for Vlad, did you ever consider like moving yourself to some developer heaven, whatever that would be?
That'd be pointless. I mean, I don't develop games myself anymore, only as a hobby. So I'm just, a talking head. I could be anywhere. I might be replaced by AI and people wouldn't notice. So that wouldn't serve a greater purpose. Having a physical presence somewhere, like a place people can come to and talk to each other, is nice. But honestly, this is not very high on the list of our problems that need fixing.
Great. So VR maybe can do. And what about Raimond, Vladimir? We are about 2 minutes until the end. How do you handle, like, how do you think about having foreign students? Maybe Raimond in your program, or Vladimir as well, or or working remotely. Okay. Might as well.
I'll start then. So I mean, I am in Ireland right now, and managing a team in Estonia. So somehow works. So, and from international students' perspective, I mean, most of students are present in Estonia. However, in our team, most of students are international students. I think I'm not the only one local, let's tell you, even I'm remotely at the moment, but we have a few only local people. However, it doesn't matter really much. All communication is in English anyway, and the main, let's tell, priority for me is that people are encouraged, and I personally prefer office. To be honest, especially when we work at hardware, because we have a laboratory, we have a lot of hardware and robots. We can put robots at the home if you speak about heavy industrial robot. But remote works out for sure for some parts, but some parts should be done in the office. But I prefer to be honestly having. If I have like 5 meetings in a row, I prefer having them online when I can switch much more easier. That's my perspective from that point of view. But all these tools like Slack and everything works out, even in academia. I mean, we use it every day. All these processes and pipelines and agile styles and so on. Yeah.
Great to hear. Raymond, final thoughts?
Yes, so that's a very complicated question to answer in, I don't know, -1 minute. So, of course, in the University of Tartu, we have lots of international students, and we are internationally known university, and there's a lot of the education is in English, which is one of the points we're getting criticized for, that a lot of the education is in English, because we're a national university, so we need to also teach and develop the Estonian vocabulary and the field in Estonian. And when we're creating a new bachelor curriculum, it will be like an easier sell if we make it in Estonian. So right now it's meant to be an Estonian curriculum. So that's basically my short answer. That it's a very complicated question, and we have nothing against international students, but we also want to teach in our national language and develop that. So it's kind of a tricky situation.
It's a really interesting point. Yeah, hopefully it's not. Yeah, it's still possible to include those people with hunger, no matter where they come from, or maybe even people can study online a lot of the time, fly in for the important things. Cool. Thank you all very much. A lot of interesting points here. Definitely remember the hungry students and the new awesome curriculum coming in a couple of years, who will solve all our talent issues. Thank you all. It was very nice, and now I think I'll give it to Teemu. If you want to have some closing words.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you guys for participating. I think the content was great and awesome, and you guys need to put the curriculums in order, because we always tend to look towards Estonia to get some more employment for our project as well. So if you guys are short on experts, then we are in serious. Well, I was about to say something that is not proper for recording, but yeah. We need to fix that together, I think, and find a good way to get the actual people to execute on the projects that will be on hand. That it's not going to be less projects, but more projects in the future for sure. So this is actually for the entire world to solve the problem, that who is going to create the content when everything is going from 2D to 3D. That is the kind of key. And who is going to do that? So, well, the ones that know it, so you know what to study. Now, excellent. Thank you, everybody. This was a great overview on Estonian XR scene. Thank you, Märt, especially for EEVR and arranging this. This was totally yours. I was just here to listen in. So thanks a lot. And definitely looking forward to seeing you guys in the next ones as listeners and participants as well. And do explore the platform, the org.live, and let's have more content there together. So thank you, everybody. And this was Overnight Northern XR, ISO in Estonia. Thank you, everybody. And it's a good night from me.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.